Well, good evening, good evening. This is the day the Lord has made, and we will rejoice because we are glad in it. Welcome to Shop Talk, the women's edition. If you could make some noise if you're on campus, and if you are online, we are welcoming you to tonight's edition. It's going to be a blast, and we're waiting on one more of our guests. But listen, we want you to know you can send in your question to 567-233-6623, and or you can leave a comment if you're on Facebook, you can leave a comment in the section and we'll get your question in. But listen, invite somebody. It's going to be good. I promise you it is. They're going to get me together. There you go. But it's going to be great. We're so glad to have an online audience as well as an on-campus audience. And my guests are here, and I am excited. Amen. Come on, clap, make some noise as my last guest comes in. Miss Christina Rodriguez, she is coming in, and we're going to get her situated. And that way we can do our intros one at one time. Come on up, my friend. And yeah, you can bring it. And we are excited. Listen, there are so many wonderful things that are going on our campus. This is, of course, November to Remember, and we are excited about our Thanksgiving food drive. We are looking for donations you can drop off here at the church in the mall area. We're accepting donations until Sunday, November 13th, or you can give online at www.cozmtzion.com. Our Thanksgiving drive, we supply 75 baskets to 3 different schools that we partner with, not just at Thanksgiving or Christmas, but throughout the whole year. Come on, make some noise for that. Also, our Champions Team Summit at the city is coming up this Saturday, our volunteer engagement and development party. We're looking for all volunteers this Saturday, November 3rd at 10 a.m. And we got snacks. I promise you, they're going to be good. Listen, don't forget, you still have time to vote. 3737 West Sylvania Avenue. Make sure that your voice is heard so that your voice can count. Well, beloved, it is Shop Talk Women's Edition. Woo! And we have been having a great time. We had a great time with the men. And so I thought it not robbery to make sure that we had some wonderful women to share and give us the beauty shop talk version of the barbershop talk version. And so I have some amazing guests. All of them are phenomenal women in their own area, and I want to introduce them. I want to let them introduce themselves. You got to make sure your mic is on so they can check, turn and pull your, there you go, it's on the side there. There you go. Push that. Yeah, and they're going to introduce themselves, and then we're going to dive right in. Don't forget, if you have a question that you'd like to send in, you can text it 567-233-6623, or you can leave it in the chat if you're on Facebook. All right? Well, I'm going to begin with my pastor friend, Pastor Marquisa Horton. Would you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yes, sure. Hi, I'm Marquisa Horton. I co-pastor Corinth Baptist Church with my husband, Damon Horton.
Yay!
And I also work as the Director of Technical Operations for Buckeye Broadband.
All right.
And I am excited to be here. I peeked in on the men's shop
talk. Boy. Oh, boy. Well, listen, I know you've seen her picture on some of our advertisements and things. However, I have live and in the flesh the Rebecca from Proclaim FM. And she's going to introduce herself if her mic works. Yeah. I'm just going to tell you right now, at some point, her mic is not going to work. Because I am turning the tables on her. She does it every Tuesday to me and cuts off my microphone.
Oh, I feel so out of control right now, Pastor. Wow, okay. So he's trying to intimidate me right off the bat. But yes, Rebecca from Proclaim FM, the morning mix host, Monday through Fridays, also the music director there. Been there for about 6 years now. So thank you for the invite, friend.
Come on, make some noise for my friend as well. And definitely, I think my son, I think my son has a crush on you. I'm going to just tell you. I just put it out all over Toledo. Because he ain't showed up for nothing else, but he's here tonight. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we were able to tour your facility some time ago, and he has never forgotten that. So welcome, Miss Christina Rodriguez.
That's right.
Yes, Rodriguez.
You rolled your R well. Good job. I'm proud.
I did well in Spanish. I did. From Mom's house. Come on, make some noise for her.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Tell us who you are.
So I'm Christina Rodriguez, obviously, the executive director at Mom's House, and also do a lot of things in our community. My heartbeat is to fight for families in our community to stabilize and to heal. And I work hard every day to make that happen.
Yes,
and I get to come on the show sometimes with the two of these two, and they're a little wild. When I'm on the show, it's so calm and relaxed.
They don't believe that.
You invited us.
Right.
And I have to apologize. My furnace guy showed up right when I was leaving.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you
I'm
cannot
getting
be
a new
without.
furnace.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
you're right.
You're going to need it eventually.
Well, good. Well, listen, we're going to dive right in. I know that there's some who need Bible for this. Yeah. And yet, Philippians talked, and I've been teaching and preaching through Philippians forever now. They're going to be finally glad that I'm in the last few verses because they want to know that can you preach out of anything other than Philippians? But I said, until y'all start doing one sermon, I don't need to move to the next one. But nevertheless, there was a particular verse in, I believe, chapter 4, where Paul speaks to Euodia and Syntyche about a disagreement that they had. And I know y'all are Bible scholars anyway. But he spoke to them, but then he spoke collectively to the church and said, help them. And here's what stuck with me. Because they have been working with me in the work of sharing the gospel and getting the work done. And I thought about that and how the role of women in the world, how if it were not for what you do, that how much different our world would be. And I thought that we would launch into our conversation that way and just get your thoughts on maybe the roles that you play and how challenging. I know as a female pastor, I can talk on that. But at the same time, what kind of challenges have you faced possibly that maybe we don't know just because of gender? If not, praise God. But if so, share a little bit about that. And we don't have an order here. So I know I told Rebecca, I said, now, you will take over my show. I know you will. But
Well, do you want to trade seats? Or?
She's more than willing.
Oh,
She's taken my seat.
I know. But that's where we want to start, and we will get into some other conversations tonight. And our live audience and our online audience is going to help us with some questions. So
Yeah,
who wants to go first?
I think that's a great segue, actually, to taking your seat and also just being aggressive and saying, I'll take your seat and standing up. Because in the world I work in, I know a lot of people think nonprofit work and charity work is so sweet and kind and, oh, yay for you. It's cutthroat. And unfortunately, people see it, especially as a brown woman. I'm a fundraiser.
Okay.
So I'm asking people for money, and I'm giving them the reason why. And so I do find often that as a woman, that causes a challenge with some donors, unfortunately, or there's a little bit more pushback. So I know what rooms I can go into, and I know what to talk about and what room to go in. I can talk about Mom's House as a whole, but I know when I go to this specific group, I'm talking to men in suits, and I throw statistics. But if I'm talking to this group, I'm throwing statistics and emotion into it. And so as a woman, that is something I have to be cognizant of all the time wherever I go, because a lot of times my voice will be drowned out.
Wow. So you have to work harder.
Oh, absolutely, I would say.
Just because you're a woman.
Yeah, with some people.
Okay. All right. In 2022,
Oh, yeah.
I am still amazed at the gender issue. I grew up in church, and yet even amongst our different denominational groups, they're still having conversation about what women can do and what they cannot do within the church. And I'm just floored by it because I know there's some men that should not be preaching. I know they just went because they thought they could do it. And there's not that kind of challenge with them. They can say some things, and just because they're male, then they're just kind of welcomed in. And I'm still amazed that we're still having these gender conversations. It's no question whether you can do the job, right, but it's just the question of how can we get from where we have been to where we need to go.
So I think we made so much progress
Okay.
that is sometimes we forget that it's still a struggle. I was listening in on one of those Bible sessions that you had from Philippians. And I'm sitting at work, and here I am. I'm part of the leadership team. I'm a pastor. For the most part, I'm welcome. The doors are open. So for the most part, it's good. But something about that message, it touched the wounds. It touched the area where I realized where it was still a struggle, where there are churches that we don't affiliate with because I'm not welcome up here. There's no way they would ever allow me to come up here. There's certain areas that I go into my job where they talk to everyone else in the room until they realize that I'm the one that's making the decisions, that I'm the one that signed the paychecks, where they don't acknowledge my presence until they realize, oh, wait, she is someone.
Like, who's the big boss?
Right.
You're talking
right.
to her.
Yeah. And I did not realize how I had hurt. I mean, even though there's so much progress being made, there's still so many obstacles. There's still so many places where we're not accepted. There's still so many where we're not supposed to be there in certain people's eyes. And I tell you, it was an eye-opener. And it meant so much to me just to hear a male with influence saying that this isn't right, this isn't how it's supposed to be.
Wow. Yes, ma'am?
You know, I'm listening, and I work in a predominantly woman-driven nonprofit organization. Proclaim FM is led primarily by women. And so I personally, in the environment that I'm in right now, I'm not facing challenges when it comes to be a woman in position because we all are there. Mm-hmm. But one thing I know just from past experiences, also being, a pastor's wife of a church for 13 years, being in leadership, I learned to know my audience. And it's kind of what you're saying. You know when you go into a room, you know when you're talking to certain individuals, you ask God for wisdom and to know who you're talking to and know how to deliver properly. So, I mean, I think for one, the Bible talks about weak conscience, so I'm always aware of that I might be talking to somebody that might be easily offended by things or not understand things, so I'm careful. There's other people that I can speak straight truth to and be open and honest about, but I try to know my audience, and that goes for men and women, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Does that make it easier for you knowing your audience, or it
Very
does?
much so.
Okay. All right. And
Very much so.
I think you're saying similar to the same thing.
Yes.
You know what you can say in this room, who to talk to. But what happens have you ever just felt like, okay, they're not going to hear what I'm saying, and no matter how great my presentation is, because I am in this shell, they're not going to get it. Have you ever been there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you manage? How do you deal with that?
So, confidently, because nobody's going to get me to shake.
No.
At least they're not going to see it.
Gotcha. Okay.
I do shake,
Okay.
but they're not going to see it. However, to get the job done, and for me, getting the job done means to help save lives in our community, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so sometimes that means I have to call my board president and say, I'm going to need you to go on this meeting with me. Okay. Because they're not going to hear me, but they'll hear me when you validate me.
Gotcha.
Because you're a man.
Wow.
And it's horrible to have to even say that, but it's the truth. And so some people have asked me, well, do you feel like you're giving in to, what they're saying, or like selling out to it? No, not at all. I'm doing whatever it takes. Right. Because they can play a game, I have the same game, but I just got Jesus on my side. So, we can go round and round. But I take a board member with me, and they know what now. They know, and I'll be like, I'm gonna need you to come on on a visit with me. They'll be
Come
like,
on,
okay.
make some noise for our online and our on-campus audience. I do have 2 questions already, and I'll just throw it as it has come. Why does it feel like when you ask for funds, and I think this is directed to you, that it seems that if you're not a large or well-known organization, that you feel that you have to name drop to get their attention? How do you establish collaboration?
So fundraising is about relationship, and it derives from relationships. So it is, people's time, talent, and treasure are super important. And so when someone is going to give you some of their treasure, because I am the face, in their eyes, they're handing it to me, so they have to have a level of trust when it comes to me. So that means building the relationship. And that's tough sometimes, because yes, name dropping, and I name drop all the time, but and that's okay to do. But if I am consistent, build relationship, and make sure that they know that I'm the real deal, and I'm not just coming after them because I want their money. I'm coming after them because I know that they have something on the inside of them. They have the money, and I have the dream.
Right.
So I'm going to teach you how to reach your dream of helping people by taking your money to help our community.
Right, go on. Yeah, that was smooth. So I'm going to make it personal. Do you feel like not just because you're a woman, because you're a Latina, that it's harder for you to establish relationship?
Yes.
And sometimes? Okay.
Absolutely. Same thing. I take, there are certain people who I know have some, prejudice, and they're major donors, and they do great stuff, but they just have this thing because I've created a relationship with them. So the same thing. I'll take either one of my team members and say, come on, you're going on this one with me. Or I'll call a board member, and, they're white. Okay. So, yes, absolutely. My name alone sometimes, Rodriguez, so I've gotten all of it.
Right. Wow.
Anything you can imagine, I've gotten from people.
Wow. Well, Pastor, this question is for you. As being a pastor and a female, how do you hold your composure when you're being snubbed by church people? Now, y'all could have waited till the second part of this. This is coming out me. Y'all come out double barrel,
That's what I'm talking about. I love it.
I'm blessed. I don't always hold my composure, first of all. I have to admit that. But I'm blessed enough where I have a wall that I can bend off of. I have prayer that I can always go to. And I always have my husband that I could talk it through. Call my mom. Sometimes I have to step away, have to go in another room. Hey, this is what's happening. Did you see that? And, talk through it, come back out. And again, I like what you said. You have to remember the bigger purpose. And I'm representing God. So popping off or going off, that's not going to help anything. So do what I have to regain my composure, remember the bigger picture, and whatever I have to do. I think about the years. For years, when I wasn't allowed to come in the pulpit to preach in certain places, but I was the chosen vessel for Women's Day programs. I would happily, it didn't matter, the title, where I preached from didn't matter. I would preach from the floor wherever, so that the bigger picture, it was about preaching the gospel. And so it didn't matter if they didn't want to acknowledge me as a minister. As long as God gave me that platform, I was going to use that opportunity to do it. So staying focused on what the bigger picture and what the purpose is the only way that I'm able to
Wow.
Yep.
So you didn't mind preaching from the floor?
No, I didn't. And that was the season that God had me in. Now you couldn't call me and ask me to preach from the floor. And that's because God said I don't have to do that anymore. But during that period, God said go. And I went and I did whatever God told me to do.
Yeah. Well, good. Wow. Well, listen, if you want to send in a question, let me give you this number again, 567-233-6623. We're going to have some more conversation in just a minute. We're going to take a brief break here, and our online audience is going to make some really, really, really big noise as we take this break for just about 30 good seconds, and we'll see you on the other side of the break. Okay. All right, we're back. See? Maybe you got in on some of that, what we were saying. And I'm not scared. We were just chatting offline about how gender and how challenges that I have faced as a pastor. When I came here, 22, will be 23 years in December, this particular church, even though it was a well-established church and it has so many people that come through Mount Zion, and so I just wasn't trying to force the issue of women in leadership or in ministry on them, but I just began challenging some of the core beliefs. So we were talking about that, and Miss Christina said she was raised Pentecostal as well as Rebecca. So chat on how that, what was that experience like?
We have stories.
Okay, all right.
I mean, not just Pentecostal, Mexican Pentecostal.
All right.
It's a whole nother ball game, just so you know. That's part of me. I'm Mexican, I tell people. So, am I the only person that's ever made you do that?
Yes.
Boom. So a lot of emotionally driven. It was very emotionally driven, with very little teaching. And as women, young women at the time, my grandma was that praying grandmama. She, we had to go to church, but we weren't allowed to do certain things like the boys were. And it wasn't even about preaching. It was just about the fact that we were girls. Well, girls don't do that. Wow. Well, why not? Because, of course, I asked, what do you mean? Why not?
I'm sure
because
you
we
asked.
Just don't. And so we never had the teaching of what the why behind that. And so growing up, that was always, it was a thing for us. So we just grew up. I knew how to feel the presence of God. Wow. I know when I'm in the presence. Wow. But I didn't know teaching. Wow. I didn't know the word. I didn't understand the why behind it. And it was, I have some funny, moments and stories, but
we got time.
They may not be funny to you guys, actually. That's why I was just thinking about that. They may not be funny to anybody but me.
She'll be laughing.
But that Pentecostal thing, man, and then even my Puerto Rican side, so go to Chicago, they would wear the women had to cover their heads. And so, of course, I walk in and they're like, oh, here, put this over your head. I'm like, why? Get that off of me, I didn't want it. And I was, obviously back then, I was raging against the machine too, but I think it was just, they just were trying to shut our voice down. And that's what it felt like. Our voice was not, it didn't count, it didn't matter. And it was just like, oh, that's cute. Right. That's cute.
Wow.
It's not cute. It's powerful, because we have something to say.
Exactly, we do. And a similar experience in the Pentecostal church. And I just want to say first and foremost that I have the deepest respect for the church that I came from. It gave me, way back in my early 20s, a complete life change, coming into the church the way I did, and even the standards that they upheld. I think God wanted me to have that. Just yank me out of the world like that. So I appreciate everything, and I appreciate the teaching I got from the first Pentecostal church I was in. I saw and learned a lot by what I saw in leadership, and it was very male-driven. And I never felt, though, that I was disrespected as a woman, but it was drilled into my mind that women don't preach. Okay, you could teach in a setting of teaching, but you weren't up on the pulpit preaching, so it wasn't something I ever saw on the pulpit. It was always men sitting on the pulpit, and I respected it at the time because that's what I was taught at the time. So can I put, how I am. Sometimes we talk and I just ask you questions straight up, and so I'm gonna do it on camera. So
get our mic ready to be muted.
All right, he's getting ready to the scripture. He did. He sure did.
Okay,
now I know what it feels like. Anyway, wow. I know, you set me up. Okay, so let's talk, if we can, for a moment. And maybe you both can bring light to this scripture talking about the women being over men in the church.
Oh, now see, we should have had this question 2 days ago.
I'm so sorry. Can we pull that up? I have offhand. I can't even think. But I love your opinion.
And I'm sure you had to deal with this. Paul, He's writing in, I think, Corinthians. And yet, when you dig behind that, he is not saying that they should not talk in public. However, based upon the way the setting was, so that there would not be more confusion, instead of asking those questions then ask them at home.
Ask them at home.
But it wasn't because they were lesser. It was more because of the situation.
It was order, because there is a God-given order ordained. I mean, this isn't about women being beneath men, but we are created differently. We are, and we do have divine purpose in his kingdom. I truly believe that, but that doesn't mean we're less. We have an amazing role. Somebody clapped.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's right.
We have such an amazing role. And I want to embrace that role. I don't want to fight against men. I just want my role to be what God intended me as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she did
Preach
good.
it.
Yes.
Preach it.
No, I totally agree. And I don't think there has to be a competition, but a compliment.
Yes. That's
I
great.
really believe that if we looked at it as a compliment as opposed to competition, but I'm going to go this far. I believe that there are men that are insecure and yet have had position because they were men, that they did not have to be as prepared, qualified, and ready as women, because many men have been just given things because of their gender.
There we go.
Come on.
And so you like this audience. I bet you do. No,
Predominantly women.
Right,
Yes.
right. But I believe that. And if you're secure, solid, and stable, you're not in fear of a woman. You're not in fear. Matter of fact, bring it on, because we're better together, and I can celebrate you because you're not going to take what's mine, because if God gave it to me, I don't have to fear you taking it, because it's my, I don't have to fear you preaching a better sermon. What is that foolish mess? Or taking my job or whatever. I shouldn't have to skew the playing field in order for me to win. And let's be honest, that in many cases is what has happened and is happening to this day. And I really believe the great country that we have is being hindered simply because some men are not solid in who they are. They are not as prepared because of nepotism. They have not had to fight and struggle and be overqualified as others have. And so I think I totally lost not your question, but I riffed it over here because I kind of felt something rising up, and I'm really trying to be respectful. But at the same time, I am tired of men hiding behind their gender and don't have to be as qualified as other people. If you can't do the job, get another job. But do not block somebody else who can and will bring, as you said, to the job or whatever situation scenario. Y'all just bring a flavor. Y'all bring a nuance that we don't have. I ain't scared of you. I'm not intimidated by that. I can celebrate it. No, I can celebrate it because, listen, if we do not stand up, I believe, as men, I believe we will continue to linger behind other places, other countries. I think one of the statistics that I did in that study, well, there are 26 countries that have female leaders. And it's still an issue here. There are some men, I'm going to go to Georgia. There are some men that will not vote for a woman in a leadership role because she's a woman. Not because she's smart as all get out. Not because she can do the job. And I think that's sin. Okay, I'm done. All right.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. And I think, like you were saying, we should complement one another. Like every one of us has a purpose. We were brought here onto this earth, and God knew us before we were formed in our mother's womb. Like, there is a plan. And so why wouldn't you as a man want to embrace everybody's purpose around you, women, because that purpose is strong. It's amazing. It's huge. And so, like, if we do it together, and so I meet you, you meet me, we have a purpose in our lives, but we together as a team tackle whatever reason we meet. It's so important for us to be able to live our God-given talent, purpose, and do it together. Yeah. Like, there's a reason we're here. Like, in whether you're male or female, there's a reason.
Yes. Come on, clap your hands right there, and then we're going to go to Rebecca. You were talking. I think there was something you were going to say there.
Oh, I was. I was just nodding my
like
head,
to talk
and
to
I
each
was
other.
in agreement.
We like to amen each other.
There was one thing I wanted to say before we change the subjects. The competition piece of it. When we work together, women, when we're put on that platform and in those positions, we still need to respect men. People of a certain age. That's what makes it different. We don't want to bend or water ourselves down to make them feel more comfortable, but we don't want to go in stumping all over people and making them, feel less than what they are. The same way we want to be respected, we have to also give that same respect. And I think a lot of times we see these strong females that come in and they just think that they have to be the word that we won't say, but in order to be respected. And we have to move away from that we could be powerful, we can have a voice, but we don't have to take away somebody else's power.
Absolutely.
We can still respect the men.
Still honor.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say something to this, and then Teresa sent in a question, so we're going to get to her question in just a second. But, as I have tried to open the door for women to preach and what have you, one of the things that I have observed is sometimes women feel like they have to preach or sound like a man.
Yes.
Okay, and I didn't invite you to sound like a man. I invited you to preach. Yeah. So, talk to me.
Oh, that annoys me so much. I am bad. In that scripture that you talked about, I've been in circumstances where the women try to overtalk everyone in the room, where they try to preach like a man, and it's almost like you do want to tell them, okay, just sit down, wait till you get home. And I can almost picture like that whole scenario where that made Paul say, wait till you get home to ask those questions, because you're being a distraction right now. Again, there's something so powerful, and you said this, Christina, about being a female. I mean, we are some special beings, and if we just embrace that and be okay with being a female in the world and not trying to be a male, I just think how our feminism can be used.
Absolutely.
Think of the Proverbs 31 woman.
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
Shall I read it?
No, I think that is so important. And yet, I've been in situations where they just missed it because they didn't understand the assignment. As just, listen, you're here. You don't have to prove you're here. You're here.
They don't understand the spiritual authority. They're still trying to make it a natural or fleshly authority. And it's about, I'm walking in my spiritual authority.
That's
Well, go on, Pastor. Go on, give us a word right there. No, anything else before I get to Teresa's question? Okay, go for it. What is the biggest challenge in all your positions? And I'm going to start with you, Rebecca.
Oh, you're going to start with me. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't have time to think.
You're not muting our mic.
All right,
now.
category.
Yeah, let me see here. Biggest challenge in my position. So I think the biggest challenge would be primarily the show that I host, the morning show. I was saying, for one thing, the challenge is that I don't see my audience. So I have to every day pray or seek God and say, okay, you know who I'm talking to. I don't know if it's predominantly women, predominantly men. I don't know the age group. I know little bits about the demographics, but not its entirety. So one of the most challenging things is, okay, God, I just got to let you use me for whatever it is you want me to say today. Another challenge is the fact that we're dealing with all different types of people that tune in to the radio station, all different walks, all different stages of their faith, all different denominations present. And so I have to watch how I how I talk about different things. My goal is never to offend on purpose.
How does that work?
And I've learned.
Okay.
Okay. Another challenge is when you do offend, how do you deal with it? And I've had those. We have them. We have them come in, and they cut to the core sometimes when they attack you personally. But I have learned. I've learned to sit back and go, okay, God, this is not of you for somebody to try to hurt me or hurt. I try to get perspective on those things and not let one bad remark ruin all the good. But it's challenging because I'm a person. I have feelings too. And so when I go into that, it's easy to get your feelings hurt. It's easy to make a mistake. So it's always on my mind just to do my best. I don't know if this is making any sense, but yeah, there's a lot of things. Yeah.
You're good at it too.
Well, thank you, Christina.
No, and I've witnessed you when you're not on the air and people call in that have adverse positions on we're introducing music and they don't like it and yet you've handled it very diplomatically because you do know that they're going to be those people who don't like everything you do.
Which is okay.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
And we actually appreciate the differing opinions, and we say, oh, the important thing is that you respond. So
it responds,
it's making
yeah.
100% sense. Okay. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Christine.
Yes, I've witnessed that too, and I admire it actually because this is an area the Lord needs to work on with me because I'm a little to the point and I get excited. Mm-hmm. So I would say actually along those lines, the work that I do in the community is challenging in the area of, I would say, the politics of it. And because I don't do politics, and a lot of people think I do politics because of who they see me with. They have no idea that that's all part of an assignment and that God put me right there for a purpose. And I don't have to explain it either. But I struggle a lot when it comes to people's agendas, especially politically, when we have people dying. And the way that I communicate this message often is, if you were in a car accident and bleeding out and the EMS came and he was about to try to stop the bleeding and save your life, would you stop him and ask him if he is a Republican or Democrat? Would you ask him what his belief system is when it comes to,
Pro-life or...
Yeah, pro-life, pro-choice. Would you ask him all those questions or would you let the man save your life?
Right.
Does it really matter at that point? Well, we have a lot of people bleeding out right now in our city.
Wow.
And that agenda thing, it's just ridiculous. It's getting more ridiculous. Yeah. And so I feel like there's a little swell happening right now of people like me that are saying, you know what, we're not going to deal with that anymore. We're going to do the work, and we're going to do it right. And we are. But it's a tough spot to be in sometimes because people are trying to nail you to a wall. They're trying to get you to say, well, I'm this, I'm not that, and I've never wanted, don't put me into a category. Because if you want to upset me, put me in a category.
Wow. Yeah. And I've said this. Yeah, go ahead. I've said for a long time that labels belong in the grocery store. And too often we try to paint people with a broad brush to fit our narratives and to make ourselves more comfortable, and yet our positions are really not that solid. We're picking up somebody else's points that we've heard them talk about, but when it really comes down to saving lives and doing the work, rolling up the sleeves and getting it done, that's what matters.
That's true.
That's what matters. Yes, ma'am, Pastor.
After that, that was awesome. I truly thank you for your work in the community.
Thank you. You're so kind. You're so sweet. I just want to hug her. I will later.
My biggest challenge as a pastor is giving according to what God wants me to give to other people, but still having enough to give to my own family, especially my children. There's so many, it's an honor for people to look up to me and to call me and to want my advice. Sometimes my husband has to remind you, you need to answer that phone. She needs you or he needs you. And when I really just want to sit and watch trash TV or something.
Right.
Just being transparent. And it's just, but at the same time, understanding my own children, who are adults, they still deserve my time and they need me. So that I think that's the most difficult part for me.
Really? All right. Well, I don't know what it is, but you all are sending the questions in. The men didn't get nearly as many of these questions. But are they doing well? Are they doing well?
Thank you.
Yeah. Listen, if you're online, listen, please put some hand claps on the screen and what have you. But I got another question. I agree that you know you need to know your audience. But what if your audience is other women who look just like you? Sometimes we give each other the hardest time. So, do women? Now the text is coming alive. Euodia and Syntuke. I really want to know what they were falling out over. But necessarily, and I'll research that. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think we might need to let Rebecca go because she was like, "Oh, yeah."
Okay, all right. Whoever
You go first. Go.
You know, so basically, you're saying dealing with women that are just like you. Okay. So where I work, we have very strong women. Okay, and there are a few of us we have had to learn how to deal with each other. So when we're talking about men fighting for our right, like as women, to be heard with men, it's not the case in my situation. Okay. It's talking over each other as women.
Oh.
And sometimes we can easily trample each other. With easily if we're not careful. And so I think one of the most challenging things in the environment that I work with the wonderful women that I do work with, is because of how headstrong and how kind of dominant we are.
What?
I'm just being very, and I'm including myself. I have learned so much about letting my pride down. I've learned so much about thinking before I open my big mouth. I've just learned a lot about other women by working with women. And so I'm thankful for that, but I think that's a bigger challenge for me than working with men. I'll be honest.
Wow.
I'm just being honest in my case, but I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful for the women that are around me.
Okay.
Good.
So, okay, so if it were men, we talk about testosterone and a lot of that. So is the estrogen in the room a challenge?
So you guys, when you say you talk about testosterone.
No, I mean, when you have a bunch of men
sit around and talk about testosterone.
No. But they say, well, listen, you know what?
I know what you mean.
So
are you talking more like professionally or with my friends or...
Listen.
So when women are just like me, so let me go there, the original part of this. It's a great question because, especially for me, because if you look at me, my entire life I've been asked, what are you?
Okay.
And my answer is human.
Right.
In my skin.
Right.
But some people think I'm mixed, black and white. Some people think black and Asian. Some people think I'm Latina, like I am. And so I have a lot of challenges with black women.
Okay.
And I have a lot of challenges with Latina women because I shouldn't say that. I get a lot of pushback because of the fact that I am this unknown. And they can't put me they can't pinpoint. I get this all the time. People will say, well, I don't know. I can't figure you out. Good. Right. That is the goal. That means I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Wow.
Because at the end of the day, I could be in the same room with 30 Latina women, and we all have a different purpose to be there. So if I'm walking in my God-given purpose and I'm flowing and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then none of their responses or chitter-chatter or snickers, will affect me. Because I know why I'm there. And so that's super important, but that confidence can be mistaken sometimes. And so it makes people like a little, oh, she thinks she's all that. Well, I mean, God thinks I'm all that.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
And you kind of think you're all that anyway. No.
Because he thinks I'm all that.
Right. And I think you got another fan in the room, too. He thinks you're all
thanks.
that. Yeah. But no. No, but I think, it's important that you do.
Yeah.
Think as God thinks of you.
Right. Absolutely.
And you don't have to water that down or dim your shine or dim your light because of who you are created in. Now, when you are excessive and when it's arrogant and not confidence, they're not the same thing. There's some people that are arrogant, male and female, for no reason. And they mask it, they mask it because they are not adequate or insufficient. But when you're confident, when you and I teach our people, young, older, listen, when you walk in the room, you should be able to shift the room because the authority that God has placed on your life, the anointing that is on your life should be able it should allow you to shift the temperature in the room. If it needs to go up, you can go up. You're a thermometer. No, how is it? You're a thermostat. There you go. Yeah, you're a thermostat. So you don't have to dumb down because of who God says you are. So I really like that. Is that all right?
Especially when you've walked through stuff. Like, that's the thing. Like, you don't know where I came from. You don't know my story, and every one of us has a story.
Listen.
You know, and we have to be cognizant of that with each other, too. Like, everyone has a story. So you don't know what you say. If you say something to somebody and their story, that impacts a part of them in a negative way because of where they came from. You know, that's a huge deal, but you don't know my story. Yeah. You don't know where God brought me from. Yeah. You don't know why I'm walking in this authority. Because I'm gonna, and even when I don't feel like it, I'm gonna do it afraid.
Yeah.
Because of him. Yeah. Like, that's the only reason.
Pastor, you want to add in on that one?
Yes. My opinion, I think a lot of times it's because of the insecurities that are in the room. It's because of all the places where our voices are silenced. It's because of all the places where we're not able to speak. So we get in a room and we compete with each other because we're not able to compete in other areas.
Like clothes, and it starts to turn into the petty stuff when you can't look past the deep. You know, like, oh, look, did you see her shoes?
Right.
Like, I don't wear name brand stuff unless it's on sale, okay? It is what it is.
And I'm the opposite of Rebecca. I work in a male-dominated field in ministry and on my job. Wow. So I'm excited when I get around women, and I'm like, oh, I have some girlfriends. I'm
yes.
And when that starts to fall apart, it's disappointing. Yeah. And so I start to analyze and figure out what's going on. And a lot of times it's because we're bringing all of this mess
stuff
with us. And,
yes.
Well, there's another question, and I know that they came in order, but this seems to follow along this line. And of course, I'm watching my time. We might go to 9:30. No, I'm just kidding.
I gotta go to bed.
You gotta go to bed.
She has to be up in like 2 hours.
Right. But this question, Dawn sent this in. Do you believe it's more difficult for women to get along with one another in the workplace or maybe even the church? And I think that kind of follows along with women getting along with women. Okay, let me read. It says, do you believe it's more difficult for women to get along with one another in the workplace or, I guess, the church?
Yeah, I do. I think it's because we have so many limited slots where we can have a title or a name, and everybody's fighting for that. Being the head of the kitchen means more. We think it's nothing. Why are they fighting about whose greens are best or whatever it is, however petty it is?
Whose pound cake is for real?
But it really, because there's so many limited spots for us, we're fighting for those titles. I think that happens.
I agree.
Wow.
And really, you got to think about it. That type of petty stuff comes out of insecurity. I mean, and don't, not to say that I have not ever been there and don't go there sometimes, you know, because of my insecurity. Okay. Like, I'll feel insecure, and then I'll be like, stop it, get it together. Right. What are you thinking? But no, I agree with that 100%. And I think that, you know, we, as women, we tend to critique ourselves and others way more than men do. And then
really?
we analyze everything.
Yes.
Wow.
And we're really emotional beings.
Everything.
Wow. Y'all analyze everything?
Everything.
Like what? Give me an example.
Everything.
Okay, everything?
Yeah, so you might make a comment, and I'll be like, I wonder why he said that. And then I'll analyze the whole thing. Well, before he said that, he said, and then, well, maybe he's thinking, you know, and then it gets you into trouble, actually, because his imagination, and then all these thoughts come, and you're like, okay, no, that's not what I'm doing today.
No, and listen, I got a question. My friend Michael sent this question in, and we're going to save this for on the other side of this. But you mentioned something, and I'm gonna put this out, and we'll circle back around. Why is it hard, or is it hard to just accept a compliment from a man without thinking beyond the compliment? Now, I'm saving that one. All right. All right.
Come on, we're ready. We're ready.
We can handle this.
I'm coming. No, because listen.
We don't need to pray about it. We know what the answer is.
It's some men watching. And listen, I'm going to just be honest. Some things we don't say because of how we have been responded to in the past. I never forget, I was in Washington, D.C., I was in the airport, and there was a lady, she had on a bad outfit. I mean, she carried herself with confidence, and I said, you know what, you put it together today. And she looked at me like, what are you talking to me for? And I'm like, you know what, I'll never do that again. Right. So I guess, yeah, save that one. See, yeah, we're saving it. Y'all can do it?
I have a story.
You got a story for that? Okay. Well, question 5 out of 7.
You just skip the question?
Yeah.
Well, I did because we were talking. No. We were talking, and the question that I just asked, it kind of fit in with where we were.
Yes, sir.
And so, this is my show, remember?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to throw one of those in somewhere.
You knew
You
it.
had to throw one of them in there.
Next.
That's just how we do.
But
I'm taking over Tuesdays.
I'm going to be out of town. No, it says, do you think because it's such a challenge for women, when they get there, they don't know how to turn off the fight it took for them to get into the room and allow the spiritual authority to reign? Now, that's a whole lot in that. Let me say it again. Do you think because it's such a challenge for women, when they get there, they don't know how to turn off the fight it took for them to get in the room, so that they feel like, I'm assuming, whoever sent this in, that they have to still fight, and they, even when the climate is different, they still fighting to get in when they're in. I think, that, okay, all right. Did I do it right? Okay, thank you so much. Have at it.
I just had a moment of transparency.
Okay.
My husband and I just recently traveled.
Yes, you did.
So we're in this foreign country, this strange land. I'm with a group of EMBA students, which they're all very established. So my insecurities, this whole trip, they're kicking in a little. And my husband and I were on this tour, and he may have asked me something real simple, like, what color is the sky? I don't know. And I snapped. Like, he asked me, I gave an answer, he asked me again, and, like, I didn't like him questioning me. And so I gave him a hard time, and we got back to the room, and he was like, I'm not your enemy. I know that you have to prove yourself all day. I know that it's been a tough trip. But you don't have to be so combative with me. I'm not your enemy. And that's how it is. It is hard to turn it off. Even though I think I have it together most of the time, and I'm not that way, you have those moments where, I've been fighting and I'm in fight mode, and you don't realize that you don't have to be in fight mode anymore, and that it's okay to turn it off.
So is that more female than male fight mode?
I don't think you have, as a male, I don't think you have to stay in fight mode as much. You don't have to fight to get in the room. You don't have to fight to stay in the room. You don't have to fight to prove that you're worthy enough to be in the room.
I don't know, but some of the rooms I've been in.
A little bit.
If we talk about a black male, that could change,
Right. No, but you want to have that?
No, I mean, I agree. Like, I think, I'm guilty of that, of taking it to my personal life. And I have an amazing group of, I call them my family. They're my friends, but they are my family. And we've walked through life together, and they're the ones that see Christina Rodriguez, like Tina is what they call me. And so they don't care if I was on the news with the mayor, with the governor. They don't care. They love me. Wow. And so there's times that on a weekend we're hanging out, and I'll say something, and they'll be like, are you trying to give me therapy right now? Or they'll be like, hush, girl, like, you ain't... You don't got to fight here. Like, I'm not giving money to anyway. So what do you just, and they'll make a joke about it. But like, I'll be like, dang, my bad. Because I realize that all week, all I've been doing is boom, 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 And then here I come to be with people that I love and my family. And I'm a little bit like, like I think I got to fight for my little position at the, Christmas party. Like, which in our culture, we've We have a lot of fight in us, I should say, but it's definitely, it's always been a challenge. And then I also believe that when it comes to a male-female relationship, like a marriage, the importance of, and I mean, I'm not married, I was married, and so the importance of being able to, and I'm going to use the word, a lot of women don't like to hear, I'm going to use the word, I'm not going to cuss, I promise, Pastor. The S word, but the word submit.
Okay.
You know, people see me as a strong woman. They see me boom, 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 but they'll be, and I've been told you'll never be able to submit. That's why you don't got a man. You know, people have said stuff like that to me. They have no clue. Like, I know the word. I know what God's expectation is of me, and you better believe I'll be able to submit to the man that God has for me. You know, period. At the end of the day, that's what it is. But being able to turn that off in that situation, woo, that's why you're probably married and I'm not.
As you can see, well, see, now I'm about to start ministering.
You want to leave?
But just having the right man, the man that God sends to you, he will embrace that strength. He will encourage that
and
strength.
he won't be intimidated by it.
Yes, he will. Why were you quiet? You are all that, and don't you be afraid to shine in front of them. That's what the right man will do. That man that's secure in himself.
They still make those?
No, I got one.
Hey! Go on now. Well, this is the perfect segue to this question I got here. It says, in your perspective, what are the Christian women principles that are needed in marriage? Now, and I'm one that doesn't feel like you can't speak on it because you're not in it. Because, listen, we've all been, in relationships and what have you. Some great, some not, whatever. But you learn the good. So,
Repeat it again.
Repeat the question? Yeah. Okay. In your perspective, what are the Christian women principles? And Christian is capitalized right here. So I'm sure, of course, because, okay. What are the Christian women principles that are needed in marriage? Now, he gave an example. This is from a man. Okay. So Christian men teach younger men to be prayers, providers, and protectors. So do Christian women teach their daughters certain women principles that they will need in a marriage relationship?
I think we should.
Okay.
I'm just going to go back to, Proverbs 31 woman.
Okay.
And, I am not married anymore, but I was for 20 some years and raised children. And I think early on, I was ingrained in my head that a woman is the keeper of the home, which I'm not against doing that, but there was a lot of things that I was taught, and I'm not saying they're wrong, but it was somewhat of the wrong type of submission, the wrong incorrect definition of submission in a home. But I have taught my girls, especially in the home, to be strong women. But at the same time, we're called to be respectful. We are. And the Bible talks about that, that men, it talks about a woman respecting the man, okay? And the Bible calls a man to love a woman because our deepest desire is to be loved. And if you ask a man, would I rather be loved or respected, you're probably going to say you'd rather be respected. You want both, but respect is huge to men. And so the biggest thing I would teach my daughters, or that I had learned, was to show that respect. And yes, show love as well, but that's not the deepest need for a man.
Every man.
And flip it around, for men to understand that the deepest need of a woman is to be loved. If we're asked, would you rather be loved or respected, you're going to say, I want to be loved. I want you to respect me, but would you agree
Online?
with that?
Well,
you
on
want
campus?
both, but
You want both, yeah.
Yeah.
What you all say? Both? Respect?
But I think when you're being loved the right way,
you automatically
it's
give
respect comes right there with it.
Comes back.
The right way.
Okay.
I would add on to that God gives us commandments in the areas where he knows we struggle. So he understands that the man is going to struggle with showing that love. Yes. So that's why in Ephesians he's saying, You got to love your wife like God loves the church. Man who is going to have a problem loving, love your wife. Woman who's going to have a problem with this respect thing, respect your husband.
That's right.
I want both of y'all to respect each other, but woman, listen to me.
Right.
Respect your husband.
That's so good. Yeah, exactly.
There's actually a book and a workbook called Love and Respect, and it's really good, like especially for couples who are either going through something or single people who want to be married one day. It's called Love and Respect, and there's a workbook that comes with it that you could do together, and it's really eye-opening and very good.
Probably the best relationship
Yeah.
book that you can get your hands on that's biblical.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if I know my friend, he said, okay, now wait a minute, y'all danced around the question a little bit. Let me give you the question again. What are the Christian women principles that are needed in marriage?
I think Rebecca touched on both of them. If we're teaching Proverbs 31, if we're teaching what a biblical marriage means from Ephesians, is that 6, then we're teaching those biblical principles. If we're teaching, I mean, if you go down and you start breaking down, and to answer your question, yes, I just ended a Bible group on Proverbs 31. Probably once a month, we're going through talking to men and women about from Ephesians about the biblical marriage. So yes, we are teaching that to our women, our young women, unmarried women. But going back through Proverbs 31, same way. I was raised on this Proverbs 31, basically we're preparing ourselves to be this great submissive wife. And as I started teaching, I started realizing, no, Proverbs 31, she was a powerful businesswoman. Like, she had all of these different streams of income. She had her husband's back. Like, she had it going on.
She made her husband look good.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And we go back and we start teaching and breaking down, and that's why we as women, it's okay for us to ask questions and start to challenge the teachers of the Bible to really tear those scriptures down and to explain it to us.
Yeah.
I mean, does he want a list?
No. I don't know if he wants a list, but I guess the example that he gave was that we teach, or men are taught to be providers, protectors, and we're even taught that because of that role, you can express weakness or show emotions. So we get this stigma that we don't have feelings. Right. Which is erroneous.
Right.
So that's why I was pushing you a little bit on the love or the respect, because I believe that a man needs as much love as a woman and as much respect as a woman would want. So I think it's the same. I don't think there's you get this, I get that.
No.
Okay.
It's needed both. I mean, we all need it all, but there's the way that we're created, there's a part, like, between men, you guys respect each other. There's a respect thing going on. That's what you want in your relationships with men. Women, we want to be respected, of course we do, but we want to be cared for and loved. Okay. It's probably the deepest.
And women want, and another intimacy.
Yes.
And it's not just about sex, it's about intimacy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's a difference.
Oh,
yes.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure you've preached about that before.
Right. No, I say, and particularly is before there's intimacy, there must be an into me you see.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
And so, what? Anyway.
Preach.
No, but I believe that, because if you can't stimulate me, and this is for men, if you can't stimulate me here, then probably that other is not going to work that long.
Right.
And I try to teach here, you can't live in the bedroom.
No.
You can't stay in the bed all day. So don't build a relationship on an hour. You know what? This is my show, so this is what I say. All right. Right.
I can't talk like this on the
My
radio.
goodness. She's like, you already broke one of my rules.
No, but before, if all we're talking about is if a man is only talking to you about the bedroom, that's the wrong man.
Absolutely.
Because if he can't talk to you about the boardroom as much as the bedroom, then that's probably not the dude for you. So it is important that we have we have emotions and feelings as well. I got about 6 minutes left. So I want to kind of, and I'll give each of you a lean into that camera and share with women before we close. All right, I'll give you about a minute each, okay? But let's go back to this thing about how are women on edge all the time to the point where it's hard to receive just a compliment for a compliment. I'm not asking you for your phone number. I'm not trying, it's simply because I believe God gave us eyes to see, and we can acknowledge beauty. We can acknowledge one another without thinking I'm trying to slide into your DMs,
Yeah.
So, is that a thing?
Yeah, I think it's, there's so much in there. The woman, depending on the woman and depending on her history, depending on her traumas, depending on her relationships, how she responds to men. We don't know her story. We don't know if she was sexually abused and she's got a weird thing with men. So, or if she's been approached in a negative way often.
Right.
And that happens a lot in some neighborhoods, in some places, I should say. But I also do believe that we also have an issue with accepting a compliment. Okay. So, like what you said, I see nothing wrong with it. I would have been like, I know, right? Man, I worked hard on this morning.
Like, yes,
I would have been fist bumping you, high-fiving, and then peace out. Right. But, also the way that you communicated that, because if you're going to come at her and you did, I forget exactly what you said.
No, what I said was
you put yourself together well today.
I said you put that together.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, I travel a certain way,
sure.
So I didn't have sweats and stuff on. I had put myself together that day, and
you were hoping she would say the same.
No, I didn't need that. I knew I was together. But anyway,
he was gliding through the airports.
No, but you recognize certain
Yeah.
things, and it's not about a brand or
Absolutely,
but just
no.
the fact that you recognize that they took time, they took intention, because the most beautiful people are found in the airport.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't know that?
No, but
Okay,
You're in the airport a lot, so.
I was going to say that might be where you're at all the time.
I just let y'all know the secret.
We're
But
out here.
Everybody travels a certain way.
Yeah.
If you travel, and so I've mentioned, I said, you know what, you put that together.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay. And so I was like, not going to do that again.
Yeah.
Because the last thing I'm trying to do is offend you. Right. I am really trying to affirm and not offend.
Yeah.
But do you find that hard in your, as strong women?
Oh, yeah.
I'm personally invited strong women. and the Women's Edition Part 2 will also be strong women. Simply because I just believe that, so.
I have to tell you a little story. For one, I don't have a problem accepting compliments. Even if I feel a little bit uneasy about the person saying it, I have control over that situation. And so I can say thank you very much and walk away. It just depends on how I feel about it. But a story back when my previous husband and I pastored a church, he was not the type of person at all to be flirtatious or be inappropriate in any way with any woman. He was very careful how he held himself in the church, would never be alone with a woman in a closed room, anything like that. He held himself to the utmost integrity there. But you never know who's going to walk in your church and what their past is or what, And so he was in a Sunday morning saying hi, greeting people, and there was a pretty new woman that was there. And there was actually several women standing together, and my husband is nice, and he always says hi to everybody and says, and to her, you look very nice today. You look very nice today. It was just a compliment. And did I not get a call from this woman maybe a couple days later in the office at the church and telling me, your husband was flirting with me. And I said, ma'am, you are 100% incorrect. But I knew. You knew. I knew the situation, but see how being in a position that he was in, how easy it is to have your good be evil spoken of. And so I would say be cautious as men or being in places of leadership with women in general. Use wisdom, because you never know how it's going to come back around, even if your intentions are completely innocent. So luckily I was not unwise to that situation or that woman, but anyway.
All right.
In the way you say it too, like if you're all like, "Hey, girl,"
Right, yeah, yeah.
that has a whole different
Yeah,
connotation to
That's
it.
right. No, I do know approach matters.
Absolutely.
And yet, I said to myself, I talked myself into after I talked myself out of, because I am cognizant of who I am and my role, and the last thing I want to do is bring shame on the kingdom, particularly on the church, my family, the ministry. So therefore, I'm probably not going to say it as many times as I would, simply because, I just do not. It's not that I can't handle rejection. It's just that I just don't want that to go awry.
Yeah, you don't want it to get. I feel you.
So I, for one, I can take a compliment. I appreciate compliments, especially if I put a lot of time and thought in it. And it does not have to mean that anybody means anything extra. Yeah. I think Rebecca gave a really good answer, both of you. But in short, women are thirsty. Some women, not women, but some women can be thirsty. And so
she's like thirsty.
Thirsty. There's no other way for me to put it.
And back to that insecure thing.
And I think it feeds into Rebecca is saying, any type of attention from a male, they just assume that somebody wants them. Any type of attention. And I don't think there's anything you can do about it. To your tone, the words you use, anything you say, still interpret
absolutely.
It that way.
I know a woman who probably would, after hearing that come from you, she would probably think she's engaged within the next 30 minutes. She would have called me like, "Hey, girl, oh my gosh, it's one dude. I think I found my husband."
Wait a minute.
There are women like that.
We got an online and on-campus audience. I don't know what the online audience is doing, but I know what's going on in this room right now. I mean, she said women are thirsty?
Yes.
So thirsty to men is probably not the same thirsty to women, or is it?
So there could be the thirsty where they do anything to get attention, but then there's this thirst where they don't receive any type of sincere or any type of compliments that don't come with an attachment, that any form of attention means that he wants me in some form of fashion. They're that thirsty for attention.
Okay. All right.
Like they're not content where they're at, and so they want that relationship desperately.
All right. We've had an amazing night. Wouldn't you say? Our panel and guests have been amazing. I know online you've been excited. So we're going to close, and I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to give each of our guests a minute or 30 seconds to lean in and speak to women or whoever's watching. If you had one last thing to say to them, this is your moment to do it. I'm going to let you go, Pastor, first.
Okay, 30 seconds to a pastor. Okay.
Right.
You are fearfully and wonderfully made. Just remember that God created you, whatever shape, form, fashion, color of your skin, no matter what it is. Embrace it, love it, and just walk boldly and confidently in it.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Ms.
All right.
Rebecca.
I would say to women, we are not in competition with each other. And I want to also encourage you that no matter where you're at, what kind of degree you have or don't have, whatever color you are, whatever kind of job you have, don't diminish what your purpose is. Because sometimes you're going to look at other people and you're going to compare yourself and say, I have no purpose because look what they're doing, and I can't measure up. That's not true at all. God has purpose for each and every one of us. That's not just a cliche statement. That's the truth. We all have purpose, and I'm really thankful that it took a while for me to recognize purpose, but I'm thankful for it. And so whatever it is that God is calling you to do, just I don't know, just flourish in it. Just flourish in it.
Amen.
Absolutely.
And last but definitely not least, my friend, Miss Christina Rodriguez.
Good job.
Yes.
So I would say be authentic and be transparent and be who you were created to be. And sometimes, and I'm 49 years old now, and I'm just really learning the authenticity part. Wow. Because I've always been trying to cover it up for everybody. So don't allow people or yourself, your thoughts, to take over so much that you're not allowing the Holy Spirit to guide you and to tell you who you are, because God created you for a purpose. There's a reason you've gone through the things you've gone through, but he also said he works all things out for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So there's a purpose in your walk. There's a purpose in everything that you've experienced, but you've got to walk in it, not with your head down, but with your head up and looking it straight in the eye and saying, I'm going to conquer this because of who I have on the inside of me.
Oh, wow. Wow. Boom. All right. Well, listen, thank you so very much. This has been an amazing time. We will have Women's Edition Part 2, Shop Talk Part 2. And thank you so much for tuning in. Share this. This has been priceless. Thank God for Pastor Horton. Thank God for Rebecca. Thank God for Christina. And thank God for you. You have been an amazing on-campus audience. Give yourself a hand. And we are excited about what God is doing. And I know we say that a lot, but listen, because you're alive, God is doing an amazing thing in you. And as these fantastic ladies have said, don't diminish you because of comparing yourself to somebody else. You are a designer's original. You don't have to have a name brand. It's not the name on what you wear. It's the person that's wearing what you wear. So I challenge you, go out and you can make Jacques Panay look like it's $1,000. You can make whatever look like it's $1 million because it's you who has it on. So God bless you. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to smile and shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift the light of his countenance upon you and grant you his peace. Have an amazing night, and thank you so much for listening. God bless you all.